So imagine you are lying on an operating table,
Oh, man.
right? The room is freezing cold. The surgical lights are just blindingly bright, and you can feel the anesthesia just starting to pull you under.
That is such a terrifying, vulnerable moment.
It really is.
Yeah.
You are putting your life completely in the hands of a world-class surgeon, someone who has, studied the human body for decades.
Yeah, an absolute master of their craft.
Exactly. Or, let's say, imagine you are stepping into the cockpit of this massive, heavily armed bomber plane. You're about to fly a critical mission. Stakes are literally life and death.
Right. High pressure all around.
And then the unthinkable happens. Disaster strikes. But, and here is the paradox that should keep all of us awake at night, the disaster doesn't happen because the surgeon lacked skill.
Right.
It doesn't happen because the pilot wasn't brave enough or hadn't trained enough. The catastrophe happens because of a simple, totally human memory lapse.
Just a tiny slip up.
Exactly. A genius making an amateur mistake. They just forgot a single basic step. And it makes you wonder, what if the solution to our most devastating failures in these high-stakes environments isn't more training, but just a simple piece of paper?
It is a really terrifying reality to confront, honestly, because we want to believe that highly trained professionals are infallible.
Yeah, that they're basically superhumans.
Right, but human cognition simply doesn't work that way under pressure.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, everyone. We are super thrilled to have you here.
Thanks for joining us.
If you are the kind of person who loves getting to the core of big ideas, challenging your own assumptions, and experiencing those satisfying aha moments, make sure you subscribe to the channel, BookSnap.
We really love taking these fascinating journeys with you.
Today, we are diving into a concept that will completely change how you view expertise. We're going to reveal why the smartest people in the room are making deadly mistakes, and how a tool you probably use for, well, grocery shopping is actively saving lives around the globe.
It really is a profound shift in how we approach professionalism, competence, and, honestly, the limits of our own biology.
Our mission in this deep dive is to explore why highly trained experts fail in complex environments, and how a brilliantly simple tool can help you manage the overwhelming complexity of modern life.
It's so relevant to all of us.
Yeah. We are drawing our insights today from a comprehensive video summary by Suleiman El-Ishan, and it covers Atul Gawande's groundbreaking book, The Checklist Manifesto. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Before we can figure out how to stop these catastrophic failures, we first need to understand the root cause. Like, why are the experts, the people who literally spend decades mastering their craft, making these fundamental mistakes?
To understand that, we have to look at Gawande's core premise, which it really strips away a lot of the ego we attach to modern professions.
Oh, for sure.
What's fascinating here is that the fundamental issue is that human knowledge has vastly exceeded our individual ability to manage it.
Wow, okay.
Think about medicine a century ago. A doctor could reasonably fit most of the known treatments into their head.
Right, because there just wasn't as much to know.
Exactly. But today, there are tens of thousands of diagnoses, thousands of medications, and these incredibly complex surgical techniques.
So you just can't memorize it all?
You really can't. The bottleneck is no longer the scientific knowledge itself. It's our human capacity to execute that knowledge flawlessly in highly volatile environments.
The source breaks this down by categorizing our failures into two distinct types of errors, which, I found really clarifying.
Yeah, that distinction is crucial.
The first is what Gawande calls errors of ignorance. These are mistakes we make because science or human understanding just hasn't figured out the answer yet.
Right, or the person simply hasn't been taught the information.
Exactly. But the second type, and this is where the book places its entire focus, is errors of ineptitude, or errors of application.
And those errors of application are the silent killers.
Why is that?
Well, because the team or the individual has all the knowledge, they know the correct protocol, but they fail to apply it correctly in the moment. The source highlights that human memory, our attention span, and our ability to coordinate as a group have strict biological limits.
It's like having a top-of-the-line smartphone, right?
Yeah.
But you open 50 incredibly demanding apps at the exact same time.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
The processor is world-class, the potential is definitely there, but the RAM just maxes out, the entire system stutters, and the phone suddenly crashes just trying to open a basic text message.
That is a perfect way to visualize cognitive load, because when that mental RAM maxes out, your brain starts silently triaging information.
Just dropping things.
Yeah. Under high stress, say, a patient's blood pressure suddenly dropping, alarms are blaring, multiple people talking at once.
Total chaos.
Right, total chaos. Your body dumps adrenaline into your system, and this creates literal tunnel vision. Your executive function, the part of your brain responsible for complex problem solving, gets hijacked. In that state, your brain routinely drops the most basic foundational tasks first because it's desperately trying to focus on the immediate threat.
It's crazy because as a culture, we falsely equate expertise with immunity to this biological reality.
Yes, we absolutely do.
We see a surgeon's white coat and we assume they are above cognitive overload. We forget that the surgeon's working memory simply runs out of space just like anyone else's.
They're human at the end of the day.
Exactly. Which leads me to a huge question. If our brains are biologically hardwired to drop information when the RAM is full, how did we ever survive the Industrial Revolution without crashing every complex machine we built?
Honestly, we barely did.
Really?
Yeah. To see how humanity first collided with this biological limit and survived, the source takes us back to World War II into the realm of military aviation.
Oh, right.
Specifically, the introduction of the B-17 bomber.
The famous flying fortress.
Yes, exactly. When Boeing first introduced the prototype for the B-17, it was a massive leap in aeronautical engineering.
It was huge.
It was an incredibly complex machine. 4 engines, complex pitch controls, new landing gear mechanisms, and a dizzying array of overlapping systems.
It's a lot to keep track of.
Way too much. During an early demonstration flight for the military, the plane took off, stalled, and crashed in a fiery explosion.
Wait, it just crashed right then and there.
Right in front of everyone.
And the pilot flying that demonstration wasn't some rookie, right?
Oh, far from it. The pilot was Major P.P. Hill, one of the most experienced test pilots the military had.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the crash investigation revealed that there was absolutely no mechanical failure.
So what happened?
Major Hill simply forgot to release a new locking mechanism on the elevator and rudder controls.
Just one simple step.
Just one. It was a basic error of application. Following the crash, the plane was deemed, quote, too much plane for one man to fly.
The RAM maxed out.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
The cognitive load was so high, the sheer number of dials and levers so overwhelming, that even the best pilot in the world was prone to task saturation.
So how did the military respond? Because you can't just put 3 pilots in a single seat, and you can't realistically send veteran pilots back to a classroom for another 3 years.
No, and the plane was already built.
Right. So what did they do?
They introduced a tool that seemed laughably simple compared to the engineering marvel of the bomber itself.
A checklist.
Yes, they created a pilot's checklist, a simple piece of paper for pre-flight, takeoff, flight, and landing procedures.
Step 1, check this. Step 2, unlock that.
Exactly. And it virtually eliminated human error in managing those basic systems.
Wait, let me push back on that because I want to represent the skeptical listener who might be, leading a team or running their own business right now.
Sure, go ahead.
You are telling me the military-handed elite combat pilots, the absolute best of the best, a basic grocery list for their airplane.
Basically, yes.
If I spent 10,000 hours mastering a skill and my boss hands me a piece of paper telling me to check the brakes, I would be incredibly insulted. That feels completely demeaning to their training.
It absolutely feels insulting if you view the checklist as an instruction manual.
Because it's not.
Right, that reaction misunderstands the underlying mechanism of what the checklist is actually doing. The military wasn't telling the pilots how to fly the plane.
Okay.
The checklist was not a replacement for their skill. It was an external hard drive for their brain.
Oh, an external hard drive. It offloads the routine data.
Exactly. By offloading the predictable routine steps onto a piece of paper, the pilot didn't have to waste valuable working memory constantly asking themselves, did I unlock the tail wheel? Did I set the flaps?
That makes total sense.
That mental burden was removed. The checklist didn't diminish the pilot's brain power. It liberated it.
So they can focus on the hard stuff.
Precisely. With the routine tasks safely managed by the list, the pilot's executive function was entirely free to focus on the unpredictable variables where their elite expertise was actually required.
Like getting shot at.
Exactly, like navigating enemy fire, adjusting to severe weather, or making quick tactical decisions.
That reframes the entire concept for me. The checklist isn't there to hold your hand. It's there to protect your mental bandwidth.
That's a great way to put it.
Now, if checklists saved aviation, we need to figure out where else they belong. Because, we don't all fly B-17 bombers.
True.
Gawande addresses this by categorizing the different types of challenges we face in the modern world, which helps us understand exactly where this tool is most effective.
Yeah, the source outlines 3 distinct categories of problems. The first is simple problems.
Like what?
Think of baking a cake from a recipe. You have known clear steps. If you follow the recipe, you get a highly predictable, successful result pretty much every single time.
Okay, that makes sense. And the second category?
Complicated problems. These are endeavors like launching a rocket into space or performing open-heart surgery.
It's terrifying.
Very. A complicated problem involves multiple specialized experts, a massive degree of technical knowledge, and extreme coordination.
So, not just baking a cake.
Definitely not. You can't just follow a basic linear recipe because variables can shift. However, the underlying mechanisms are fundamentally understandable.
Like physics is physics.
Exactly. A rocket engine follows the laws of physics. If managed with precise coordination, success is highly probable.
And the third category is where things get really messy, right?
Yes, the complex or compound problems. The classic example Gawande gives is raising a child or leading an organization through a cultural shift.
Very unpredictable.
Highly. In complex problems, conditions are constantly changing in unpredictable ways. Every child is different. Every market shift is different. There is no rigid, repeatable formula that guarantees success.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If we look at those 3 categories, the source makes a brilliant comparison between 2 massive industries that deal with complicated problems.
Construction and medicine.
Yes. Think about how a modern skyscraper is built. You would never let a single master architect walk onto a job site, keep the entire blueprint in their head, and just point around telling the plumbers and electricians what to do from memory.
That would be a disaster.
A total disaster. Construction relies on a multidisciplinary team orchestrated by precise checklists. The structural engineers, the foundation crew, the safety inspectors, they all use coordinated lists to ensure no crucial step is missed before the next phase begins.
They have to.
Right. So why on earth do we let a single surgeon hold the entire blueprint of a life-and-death operation entirely in their own head?
It exposes a massive vulnerability in medical culture. Gawande calls it the solo master builder myth.
The solo master builder.
Yeah. In medicine, there is this deeply ingrained assumption that a single brilliant doctor is capable of managing every tiny shifting detail of patient care mentally. We treat them like the supreme commander of the operating room.
But the human body is just as complicated as a skyscraper. Probably more so.
Exactly. When you rely on the solo expert to remember every detail, administering the prophylactic antibiotics at the exact right minute, ensuring the correct blood type is physically in the room, checking patient allergies while managing an incision.
It's just too much.
You are inviting those errors of application. The working memory will eventually drop a ball.
Because the RAM is full.
Right. The construction industry realized decades ago that no single brain can build a skyscraper. They shifted to decentralized, checklist-driven teams.
But medicine didn't.
No! Medicine, largely due to historical ego, has clung to that solo master builder model, leading to totally avoidable casualties.
But Gawande didn't just point out this flaw and write a theoretical book. He actually put the skyscraper analogy to a global test to prove the mechanism works in medicine.
He really did.
He collaborated with the World Health Organization to create a global safe surgery checklist.
This is where the theory really hits reality. Gawande and the WHO team didn't create a massive textbook of surgical procedures.
They kept it simple.
Yes. They created a simple, single-page list containing roughly 19 steps to be executed before, during, and after an operation.
19 steps.
Yeah.
We're talking about things like, did everyone in the operating room introduce themselves by name and role?
Right.
Is the patient's identity confirmed?
Yeah.
Or did the surgeon, nurse, and anesthesiologist verbally confirm the exact site of the incision?
Very foundational, almost seemingly obvious steps. But they ran this experiment globally. They implemented this checklist in highly funded state-of-the-art hospitals in Seattle and London,
Okay.
as well as severely under-resourced clinics in Tanzania and India.
And what happened?
The data that came back was universally staggering. Across all of these incredibly diverse environments, major complications dropped by 36%.
Wow.
Surgical infections fell by 50%, and deaths dropped by 47%.
I really want you, the listener, to absorb that statistic. Almost half of all surgical deaths were eliminated. Half of the infections vanished.
Just incredible.
Not because of a billion-dollar robotic surgery machine or a new miracle drug, just from checking 19 fundamental items on a piece of paper.
And to counter the argument that checklists slow professionals down, the source notes that running through these 19 items took an average of only 2 minutes before the operation.
2 minutes.
2 minutes to cut the death rate in half. It proved definitively that a well-designed checklist is not a bureaucratic hurdle. It is a vital safety instrument.
As someone listening to this right now, I'm thinking, okay, I want those results in my own life.
Naturally.
Like if I lead a marketing team or if I'm managing a complex software rollout, can I just scribble down a list of my daily tasks on a napkin and expect a 50% boost in my team's success?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's crucial to understand that not all checklists are created equal.
So no napkin lists.
No. You can't just mandate a massive to-do list and expect results. The source provides 4 strict rules for designing an effective checklist based on that aviation model.
What's the first one?
First, it must be brief and focused. A good checklist doesn't try to list every single step of a process. It only includes the killer items.
The killer items.
The critical steps that are most dangerous to skip and most easily forgotten. If your list is 3 pages long, people will simply skip it.
Which leads to the second rule. Clear, simple language. And that's actually harder to achieve than it sounds, isn't it?
It is, because experts really love their jargon. But in a high-stress moment, ambiguity causes hesitation.
Right.
Instead of writing, evaluate patient airway patency and assess aspiration risk, you write, is airway equipment available? It needs to be readable in high-pressure situations by anyone on the team.
That brings us to rule number 3, which might be the most important one culturally. Team participation. You can't just have an executive sit in an office, write a checklist, and email it to the ground floor.
No, building on that, team participation completely changes the culture of the environment. When the people actually doing the work help design the checklist, it increases their commitment to it.
That makes total sense.
But more importantly, it flattens the hierarchy. In the WHO experiment, one of the checklist items required nurses and anesthesiologists to verbally confirm steps with the head surgeon.
So they had to speak up.
Exactly. By making it a mandatory team checklist, it empowered the nurse to speak up and say, "Doctor, we haven't checked off item 4 yet." It overrides that psychological barrier of authority bias.
It distributes the cognitive load and the responsibility across the entire room. The surgeon doesn't have to carry the whole weight, and the team actively participates in the safety net.
Beautifully said.
And what about the 4th rule?
Continuous real-world testing and modification. A checklist is a living document. The aviation industry tests their checklists in flight simulators first, because what makes sense in a quiet boardroom often falls apart in a noisy cockpit.
You have to see how it plays out in reality.
Exactly. You try it, you see where people get confused or delayed, and you revise it.
If a 2-minute checklist designed with these 4 rules can cut catastrophic failures in half across the globe, the glaring question is, why isn't every single person in every high-stakes profession using them religiously right now?
Well, the barrier isn't technical, it's ego.
Ego, of course.
The source highlights that there is massive, persistent resistance to checklists among highly trained professionals. It goes back to our earlier discussion.
About feeling insulted.
Exactly. Experts feel that relying on a tool that looks like a grocery list demeans the value of their hard-earned intuition and experience. It feels amateurish to them.
I think we can all relate to that ego, right? Nobody wants to admit that despite their years of experience, their brain is still prone to dropping the ball on basic tasks.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
But the evidence clearly shows that checklists don't replace intuition. They protect it. By securing the routine steps, you free your mind to be creative, strategic, and genuinely brilliant in the moment. Whether you are organizing a major professional project, managing a team, or just trying to navigate your own chaotic schedule, a checklist isn't a crutch. It's a scaffolding for your intellect.
This raises an important question for all of us. How do we shift our cultural mindset? We have to stop viewing checklists as a tool for the inexperienced and start recognizing them as an advanced discipline.
A mark of true professionalism.
Right. The most elite performers in the world, from astronauts to top-tier construction managers, use checklists precisely because they respect the limits of their own biology. They use them to turn vast theoretical knowledge into precise, reliable action.
That is the core takeaway. In our deeply complex modern world, raw experience and raw intelligence are simply not enough to overcome the sheer volume of complexity we deal with every day.
It's just impossible.
We need precise systems to ensure our knowledge actually translates into correct execution. Implementing a checklist isn't about micromanagement. It's about fostering a culture of discipline, shared responsibility, and cognitive freedom.
And if I can leave you with a final, provocative thought to mull over, it builds entirely on how Gawande categorized those problems earlier.
Oh, the simple, complicated, and complex.
Yes. The data clearly showed that checklists are the ultimate weapon for complicated problems, surgeries, rocket launches, major technical projects.
Right.
But they noted that checklists do not work well for unpredictable interactions. Complex problems, like raising a child, managing a shifting community, or navigating nuanced human relationships.
Because the variables in a complex problem change every single day.
Mm-hmm.
A rigid list can't adapt to, human emotion.
Exactly. So think about this. As we rapidly move into a future where artificial intelligence and advanced software automatically handle more and more of the complicated, checklist-friendly tasks in our jobs and our lives, will our uniquely human ability to navigate those messy, unpredictable, complex situations become our most vital remaining skill?
Wow. Let the checklists and eventually the algorithms handle the complicated so our human minds can thrive in the complex.
Exactly.
I absolutely love that reframing. Well, thank you all for taking the time to join this deep dive.
It's been great.
If you enjoyed exploring these ideas with us today, please subscribe to BookSnap to keep feeding your curiosity and challenging your perspective.
We've got a lot more coming.
Remember the B-17 bomber and remember the operating table. The most powerful tool for solving massive, overwhelming problems might just be a simple piece of paper. Until next time, keep learning.